Good afternoon, Cedarfield family. I hope you are well on this May 13th at 3 o'clock. Those of you that are listening here and or viewing this this evening, hope you had a great day. Again, that is a virtual chorus and orchestra of over 300 people in 15 different countries playing You'll Never Walk Alone. I'll play that again one more time at the end of this particular session. Format for today is I actually don't have updates from the Virginia governor. I wasn't able to take a download of his press conference from today. I know we had one, but for some reason my Facebook account was not working at 2 o'clock. So we're going to skip over that. I do have an update on Cedarfield Forward, our three-phase plan. Talk a little bit about our COVID-19 communication segment. David Stewart is here in the green room. Talk about dining services happenings and pathways to wellness happenings. And then I believe Trish Carter will round us out here at the end of our 60 minutes with some spiritual well-being. So first, Cedarfield Forward, our three-phase plan. Just wanted you all to know that a few of us, 13 of us met today to look over what was our first draft on Monday. We decided to shorten our mission statement here. Yesterday we had a draft statement of keeping everyone safe pre-vaccine availability. And we know, I guess the comment was, once a vaccine is created, not everyone's going to get the vaccine, just like influenza for influenza. So we've shortened the mission statement here moving forward through these next three phases to something very simple that we can all rally around and remember. Keeping everyone safe is our mission statement for the next probably year around this pandemic. And we looked at our shared values. Monday, we were talking about 7 different shared values as we go through these plans. One is wearing masks. 2, we changed social distancing to physical distancing, personal responsibility and accountability, collaboration, well-being. We changed stay at home to safer at home. And the last shared value was good infection control practices, practiced by everybody, both team members and residents alike. So I intend this evening to write a memo that includes this language from what I just talked about and some other tidbits of information. And you will receive a memo from yours truly in maybe your meal delivery tomorrow that outlines Cedarfield Forward, our mission, our shared values, and a couple other tidbits, like I said. Just a couple of highlights. I want to give people I ran through this yesterday. This document, this is phase 1, and this document is 8 pages long. It goes into a lot of detail about things that we already have in place that we will keep in place. It talks about some items that we will open under some modified conditions, and it talks also about some things that potentially we were thinking about opening up. And so, such things as the library. The big topic is the library. That's on here. How do we make available the library? That's on here. How do we make available potentially some scheduled visitors to come on campus under a very tight process so that we know the visitors are in a specific location. Definitely talks about the beauty and barber amenity here on the campus, and how do we do that in a safe way. The CDC has really created a great mandatory requirements and best practices of beauticians and barbers. And so we intend to include that in phase one with a lot of parameters to it. We talk about the chapel opening under limited conditions. And then one of the big things under phase one has to do with housekeeping. And Sharon Brown and I have talked today, starting next week on Monday. We are Sharon and Danny Brown, supervisor, and other team members in and around the housekeeping department are going to take the better part of next week to do an assessment. So Sharon came up with a 3-phase plan, and the first phase actually has to do with assessing everyone's accommodation. We're going to start off with the residents that are on the Helping Hands program, and then work our way through the rest of the independent living and or cottages. We know, believe it or not, even though it's a widely asked question of when is housekeeping going to return, we know that many people are taking care of their accommodation, and we know that many people have said, we're fine with the cleaning that we're doing independently, don't worry about us. And so we want to take the time next week to assess the conditions of some of the cottages and independent living apartments. So that assessment process will commence on Monday. David will talk a little bit more about some things that we're going to do in and around Pathways to Wellness. The business office, James Green has talked with his team about the gift shop and some more parameters around the business office. This first phase talks about transportation and some other ancillary services, talks about our philanthropy department, what we intend to roll out here in the first phase regarding Allison and her work. Talks about support groups and the work of the social services team. How do we fold back in some really important support groups, like the low vision support group, the dementia caregiver support group, the grief support group, and then the transitions and moves through the different levels of care. Maintenance has been involved in this discussion of how we intend to unfold work orders back in. Certainly our security team and our grounds and horticulturists. And then Florence and Ann Hopper, Karen Tate, Lori Shepard, and Dining Services, David, they've all outweighed, and they've gotten together the last couple of days to talk about what the first plan would look like. So this is an evolving plan. The team's really been working hard. And again, thank you to Carol Marco for collecting the residents' thoughts that went her way. I have blended in the information that residents have provided Renee and I via email and or text or phone call into that plan as well. So I really believe that this plan is, going back to one of our shared values, I really believe this plan is collaborative from a resident's perspective. Families, actually, we have 4 families that have weighed in on some of the items, and then certainly the team members from different levels of the team adding value to create this document. So I wanted to give you some little golden nuggets there. Also, with this Cedarfield plan, Cedarfield Forward plan, next week when we roll out what is phase 1, we will also include what we believe as a draft to phase 2 and phase 3 look like. So we intend to do two things. One is to give more of a narrative form of what we were talking about, and Renee over here to my left has done an unbelievable job of putting it into a spreadsheet format so you can see things that are lined up. For those of you that like to see line by line, maybe in more of a bullet point fashion, phase 1, 2, and 3, and then those of you that enjoy reading more of a narrative form, we're going to come out with both forms at some point next week, and everyone will have the full first, second, and third phase in your hands at some point next week. So a word of just about the three phases. It's been interesting as we have discussed as a team and listening to some of the feedback coming in from the residents about phase 1, 2, and 3. There is a misconception, and that is that people who view many people, I shouldn't say many, probably 20% of the inquiries that we have been fielding, given what the governor has said and the White House task force, view phase 3 is back to normal. And so just want to deliver some transparency here. Phase 3 of a 3-phase Cedar Field Forward plan, that phase 3 isn't a back to normal life as we know it. We are layering in services and amenities through phase 1, 2, and 3. When we get to phase 3, which if all goes well, I'm going to talk about that in a second, over these next several weeks, when we get to phase 3 will look different than we were pre-COVID-19. So remember back in January and February when we really weren't concerning ourselves with this pandemic and we knew life at Cedarfield? That way of life is not the conditions of which we will operate under phase 3. Phase 3 will be a new norm for us until a vaccine is created, hopefully weeks or months after phase 3 is implemented. And so why are we layering in these 3 phases? What's the purpose of 3 phases? Why not just lump it all together and create a whole new norm and let's just get going with it? And I just want to take the next 5 minutes or so, 7 minutes, to talk a little bit about what's in the federal guidelines and the state guidelines to give folks a little bit more information and appreciation for these phases. The first condition has to, and Eddie, you want to zoom in on this? The first condition has to talk about testing and contact tracing. We want to have the ability to quickly set up a safe and efficient screening process and test for symptomatic individuals and then trace contact with those individuals in the event that they're positive COVID-19. Secondly, we want to be able to test persons with COVID and contact trace those particular individuals. And then thirdly, we want to assure ourselves that we can surveillance individuals on the campus. And so what does all that mean? I'm going to give you one example. Everyone keeps talking about the beauty and the barber shops opening back up. So why don't we just open everything back up and not have any guidelines or provisions? Here's part of my job over the next 3 phases. If or when somebody goes to a beauty shop and or maybe even our own beauty shop here, if there is a COVID-19 event that happens as a result of our beauty shop being open, let's just say, God forbid, knock on wood, that our beautician or our barber told us that they had COVID-19, they were COVID-19 positive. Yours truly has to go through an exercise called contact tracing. I need to trace back from the time that barber or beautician started exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19, and I have to go through all of that contact tracing to understand who is actually in our beautician shop, because you would potentially be exposed to that one positive case. Likewise, for those of you that don't use our beautician or barber shop, if you use a barber or a beautician in the Richmond, Glen Allen area or wherever, and let's just say, God forbid, someone on staff in that beauty shop or barber shop has a positive case, they need to tell the local Department of Health, and they need to go through a contact tracing. So let's just say I went to a barber shop outside of Cedarfield, I got my hair cut, and my barber came down with COVID-19, and I was in a period of time where he was incubating. I am exposed to that disease. Now follow this. I come back to work, and I'm here for several days. The Department of Health has to contact trace all of my steps over a certain period of time to make sure that those that may have been exposed are protected. Does that make sense the way I just described it here? Renee, David, Eddie? Okay, it's all making sense so far? So that's why we have to phase things in, because we have to have the ability to contact trace situations that inevitably are going to come up, and we need to be able to contact trace them very quickly in order to limit exposure for whomever else may have come in contact with an individual. I hope that example kind of gives you an appreciation for why we have to create a phase 1, 2, and 3. Not picking on the beauticians and the barbers of the world, but you can take any of that businesses that open up, that they will have to go through that exercise if they have a positive case. And all of that will link back to Cedarfield, and then we will have to contact trace a person's steps in order to protect people. So that's why we do it in phases. So when we open up certain amenities at Cedarfield, we're going to open up things. The first phase through the state guidelines, and the federal guidelines talks about no gatherings of more than 10 people. Well, there's a reason for that. So if we open up our library, we're not going to have 10 people in there. Why? Good job, Eddie. Eddie just said it, because if those 10 people there are in the library, there's no way that 10 people in that library can be 6 feet apart from one another and comply with social or physical distancing. It's just, picture that table right there at the front. There's no way that we can have 6 feet, 10 people. And so we have to work in things slowly and establish standards of our number of people who can be in certain locations, and probably time limits so that we can create fairness for a whole host of people that actually live here. So that's contact tracing and testing. The second has to do with the healthcare system. Why are we phasing in things? Why is phase 1, 2, and 3 happening? The second is our capacity here. we have a healthcare delivery system here too. We have a clinic, we have helping hands, we have rehab services, we have memory support and assisted living in our healthcare area. And we need to be able, as people move through those continuum of care and or take advantage of those services, we need to be able to quickly and independently supply these neighborhoods and departments with the proper personal protective equipment and infection control standards so that we're doing things safely. Additionally, if we have a little bit of a surge happening on the campus, as we did in the end of March, beginning of April, we need to be able to quickly adapt and shift our preparedness plan to be able to go back to what we actually have been doing here in the last 4 weeks. The third reason why, and this is just rounding it out to 3, the third reason why we have a phase 1, 2, and 3 really has to do with planning. We want to be able to protect the health and safety of all the team members. We want to adequately protect the health and safety of those working in and around the neighborhoods, because that's more of the isolated areas that are more at risk. And we want to be able to monitor conditions and immediately be able to take steps to limit exposure very quickly. If we were just to open up all the amenities and restaurants and create life as we knew it back in February, we would not be able to respond quickly to an outbreak. So those 3 reasons hopefully give a little bit more color as to why we have 3 specific phases. This is a really important point. I'm going to outline some of this in my memo for tomorrow. If anybody has any questions about why do we create a phase 1, 2, and 3, and if I have been unclear, please feel free to call down to the administration suite. I would be happy. You can call any of the directors of the community. We would be happy to answer your questions as to why we have 3 phases. I'm moving on to COVID-19 communication. This is our preparedness plans right now. This has not changed over the last couple of days, but I do think it's worth noting that we are in an aggressive infection control manner right now. Like I said, over the last couple of days, we have developed a COVID-19 neighborhood on the south side of the community in our health center. And we have the appropriate levels of personal protective equipment right now to equip not only the licensed area of the community, but other departments. And then lastly, in our preparedness plans, we continue to train people both in dining services and in the licensed areas of the community with things that our infection control director, Connie McGowan, is spotting. And it's just a continual monitoring of how are people responding to our standards and our policies, and reviewing what their behavior is while they're trying to implement those standards, and then doing more of that individual one-on-one training as she sees things on the floor. And then lastly, for our COVID-19 communication, this number has not changed as of yesterday. We have tested 48 residents. 8 of residents have tested positive, COVID-19 positive. And the team members, this number has not changed either from yesterday. There have been 91 team members tested, and 8 team members have tested positive for COVID-19. Okay, next up is David Stewart with some dining services updates and Pathways to Wellness update.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to be with you again today. I have a few announcements coming from the Wellness and Leisure arena and a couple from dining, except I need glasses. We've been working in Wellness and Leisure to create additional opportunities for you to get outside and enjoy this amazing weather. And as an amateur gardener, I have to say the amazing campus that we have. I think it's on par personally with Lewis Ginter. So if you haven't had an opportunity to get outside, we're looking at different ways to help you do that. Along that lines, Friday, we have a level 1 walk. That would be a walk that involves pavement and sidewalks and not too aggressive. And if you're interested in that, we should take a look at 970 for the details on that and what's involved in participating in that. We also have, as I mentioned last time I was here, a ribbon class. As I understand it, kind of like a stick with some ribbons on it, and it's a really good exercise program, stretching program that Elizabeth and Carol have come up with. Unfortunately, the men are not representing very well, and nobody signed up for it. So Carol's going to work on a men's only class. So we'll just leave that where it lies, okay? But that's going to be up on the patio on the back side of the wellness building, and Elizabeth's going to be able to play music. It's protected from the wind fairly well up there, and I think it'll be a really nice event. And if it goes well, we'll schedule a time to do it again. Also, just a reminder that Christopher Bryce, who plays the violin, will be here on Thursday at 1:30, and that will be live streamed. So look forward to that. That should be very nice to see. Also, if you have any ideas of wellness and leisure activities you'd like to suggest, we would love to hear them. You can certainly call Lori, or there are some suggestion forms near the mailboxes for you to fill out. Our art instructor, we have a new art instructor, as I mentioned once before, and we've been able to move that schedule up a bit. Her name is Fiona, and she will be here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to try to get her here and in place, hopefully in time for when the art studio reopens under its new guidelines. So that's very exciting to have Fiona come here sooner than later. Let me see if I missed anything in the wellness and leisure arena. So we've got several outside walks going on. I think Karen is also working on kind of an outdoor scavenger hunt, and I saw some details of that. I think that's going to be pretty nice. So look forward to that coming soon on 970 announcement. And let me move on to dining a little bit. A little small note, some people have said they had trouble finding yeast. So we've got little containers of yeast that we were able to provide to the store. So if you're rediscovering your bread making, you can get yeast in the store here at Cedarfield. So if you haven't tuned in before, I want to just spend a minute talking about how we're doing meals. If you've heard it, it'll be boring, but if you haven't. We are operating 5 call centers, one for each floor in the main building, one for cottages. As those orders are taken, they are sent to the kitchen for collating and organizing. When we begin to produce food, we're producing it in the order in which it will be delivered. So we have to keep very close track of which orders are produced at what time. And then when the delivery people go out, they're going to A wing and delivering first, and then B wing and C wing. As you well know, we're doing it by floor, we're doing it by cottage. And so there's a great deal of orchestration that goes on with that. And that drives a little bit of our menu planning. So I've received some requests from people, is there a way we can figure out to do a nice tenderloin fillet? So for the last few weeks, we have been in dining playing around with some technology that we have. It's called sous vide. And it's something that goes back a good 50 years in the culinary arena, but it's not real well known by many. And I will say to you, I've heard of it, I've seen it. If any of you go to Costco and you see the meat that is available there, you can buy a package of tandoori chicken or sliced beef. That is sous vide, and it's a very interesting process. We have that technology here, and we're working with it to try to better understand it. And so we've been cooking some products, and it's pretty interesting that you put corn on the cob in a vacuum bag and cook it in warm water for a very specific period of time. It's pretty interesting. So we have figured out how to do tenderloin steaks. Because if you can imagine, if you were at an event and there were maybe 500 people there, how do you provide a meal with 500 people within a matter of minutes? Sous vide is usually at the core of it. So if you're watching the Oscars or the Grammys or maybe even larger wedding ceremonies you've been to, sous vide is often one of the technologies they use. So we have figured it out, and next Wednesday we're going to have a tenderloin steak on the menu, and the team is going to be sous videing the meat, and it's going to be super tender and very, very good. We're going to offer rare, medium, and well. And we'll be able to, we believe, package meals in that very quick order in which we have to, but still provide an outstanding product. So we're real excited about that. The team's been working on this for weeks now, trying to figure out how we can provide 250 steaks in a matter of minutes. So look forward to that a week from today. We'll have that on the menu. So thank you for your comments. Thank you for your well wishes. We're always looking to keep things interesting, yet be accurate and provide good quality to our residents. So again, thank you so much. And I will turn it back to Michael.
Thank you, David. David, before you leave, we have a vote to make. All those in favor of David going out there with the ribbon dancing, say aye.
Aye.
I just heard 500 yeas. So David's going to start our Dancing with Ribbon for the men group. Do I hear a second? Thank you, David, for volunteering. We appreciate that. I'll join you, David, since I'm making this proclamation. Okay, family updates. Is there any questions that came in for David that you want me to answer?
We're putting applesauce on the menu next week.
Oh, good. Applesauce, those of you that had applesauce questions, we are putting on applesauce on the menu next week.
Yep. And harvest salad, go ahead and just take me off the ribbon team now, but that one's quite involved to produce. We'll keep that one.
The harvest salad was another question. That one's a really difficult one to make available for a couple of reasons, and we'll continue to work on maybe ways that we can include the harvest salad as an option, but right now that's not on the menu. But applesauce will be coming next week. Okay, this next segment is for families that are around the area of Richmond. Again, if you, those of you that are really actually far, if you want a video conference, here are, I was told that we go too quickly with this little segment. So if you want a video conference, your loved one in the healthcare area, if your loved one lives on the north side of the healthcare area, otherwise known as the North Neighborhood, you can contact Katie at 474-8844. If you would like to, if your loved one lives in the central neighborhood, you can contact Barbara Helm at 474-8865. And then if you have a loved one living in the south area, you can contact Zach, and his number is 474-8857. And here's video conferencing for assisted living. If you have a loved one living in assisted living, please contact Morgan at 8731. And if you have a loved one living in memory support, otherwise known as Sunshine Plaza, feel free to contact Shannon Gus at 8882. So that's video conferencing. Our supply shuttle program will kick back up on Friday. For those, actually, that is a typo, I apologize for that. Supply shuttle program on Friday is not for the cottages. Cottages were today. Those of you that have a loved one living in the health center, assisted living, or memory support, on Friday, the supplies shuttle program is for you. So if you have any items you wish to drop off in a brown bag, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Maynard and Gaston, this program is for you. The Parkview entrance project should conclude here tomorrow. The pond dredging, actually, Mr. Falls gave me some statistics I did not memorize. There have been over 400 trucks that have left this property. That's right, Dave. 400 dump trucks that have left this property with some of our, is that a question coming in? No. We have 400 trucks that have left the property due to the sediment in the pond. We have about 2 more weeks to go, and that pond dredging should be complete. The main area of that pond should be complete here within the next week, and then going into this final week of the month, you'll start to see the dredging close to Cedarfield Parkway, which will actually be our clean out area, so we won't have to do this in years going forward. We'll just have to clean out a little section of it close to Cedarfield Parkway. Grocery shopping, if you live in independent living and you are on the 4th floor, if you could get in your orders tonight by 8 o'clock, that would be great. At 474-8895, and they'll go shopping for you tomorrow. If anybody has any questions? Are we going to be charged for a meal if the month has 31 days? So in May, you will not be charged for that 31st meal. If I'm understanding that question correctly. Any other questions coming in? A suggestion. One suggestion came in. Listen on the live chat. Lisa G. Okay, we'll have Lisa here. The suggestion was having our volunteer coordinator, Lisa G, here on a live chat, and she can talk to us about some things that she has in the works or residents have suggested. So we'll have our volunteer coordinator here soon. Just a reminder that on Friday, we're going to have a virtual toast. So if you could, whatever your beverage of choice is, whether it's tea, coffee, water, glass of wine, whatever, you could have that beverage of choice ready for 3 o'clock on Friday. I would be most appreciative. We're going to, Eddie, you need a glass of something. Renee and Trish, we're all going to toast to something very important here on Friday at 8:30. And next up is Trish Carter with Spiritual Wellbeing.
Good afternoon, Cedarfield. Today I would like to share with you a Buddhist prayer. I think you will enjoy it. If anyone has heard hurt me or harmed me, knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed, I freely forgive them. And I too ask forgiveness if I have hurt anyone or harmed anyone, knowingly or unknowingly, in thought, word, or deed. May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free. May my friends be happy, may my friends be peaceful, may my friends be free. May my enemies be happy, may my enemies be peaceful, may my enemies be free. May all things be happy, may all things be peaceful, may all things be free. And now we have some good news. Who could ever get tired of good news? Well, not me. This is a photo. Eddie, could you zoom in? Okay, great. This is Amanda, Sharon and Ned Pepples' 12-year-old granddaughter. She and her dad are getting into the Corona groove. Her dad is, I have to read this to get it straight, he is in the Foreign Service Diplomatic Security. Their family is adjusting to homeschooling while mom and dad work from home in Arlington. And it looks like they are getting into a full swing of things. And we can't see those mouths, but I think there are smiles on those faces. If you have some good news, please send it in. We would love to share.